Listen closely, my friends. You have definitely met both kinds of older people in your life. First, there is the person in their 80s who still laughs easily. They still ask good questions. They are curious about the world. They move through their days with a quiet, unmistakable energy that looks exactly like genuine happiness. They seem to be enjoying the simple fact that they are alive. Then, there is the person in their 60s who already feels completely finished. They talk about their life mostly in the past tense. I used to do this, or I was that. They seem to be just waiting around, quietly passing the time, waiting for an end that never quite comes. Here is the crazy part. Both of these people are the same species. They have similar bodies. Sometimes, they even have similar bank accounts and similar life circumstances. And yet, one is truly thriving and the other is simply enduring. One is living and the other is just existing. What actually separates them? What is the secret? Most people think it's just luck. They say, oh, they just had good genetics, or they had an easy life. Others think it's money. They believe that if they just had a massive retirement fund, they would be happy too. Some even think it's just about physical health. But if you look closely, none of those things are the real answer. Some of the most genuinely content elderly people you will ever meet are living with real daily physical pain and limitations. And some of the most miserable, bitter people you know have bodies that work perfectly fine and bank accounts full of money. The ancient Stoic philosophers, people like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, figured out the real answer thousands of years ago. They identified 4 specific pillars, 4 internal structures that either stand firm and keep you happy as the years go by, or slowly crumble and leave you miserable. The most remarkable thing about these 4 pillars is this. None of them depend on things you can't control. You don't need to be rich. You don't need perfect health. You don't need a perfect childhood. All 4 of these pillars can be built, starting today, regardless of your current age. Let's look at exactly what they are and how you can build them. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome. He governed through terrible plagues, endless wars, and deep personal loss, including the death of several of his children. By any normal standard, his life gave him every reason to be bitter, broken, and miserable. And yet, the private journal he left behind, which he never meant for anyone else to read, shows a man who remained remarkably calm, steady, and at peace. He didn't achieve this because his life was easy. It wasn't. He achieved it because he had built something inside his own mind that didn't depend on his life being easy. He wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." That way of thinking rests on 4 specific pillars. Let's examine them one at a time. Pillar 1. A mind at peace with what it cannot control. This is the foundation. Everything else in your life is built on top of this. If this pillar is weak, the whole house shakes. Here is what happens to a person who never builds this pillar. Every little loss feels like a massive crisis. Every change feels like a personal attack. Their body starts to slow down, and they fight it. They complain about their grey hair, their wrinkles, their aching knees, as if complaining could somehow reverse time. Their friends pass away, and their grief mixes with a deep, bitter sense of unfairness. They feel like the world owes them more time, their daily routines change, and instead of adjusting, they spend their days arguing with reality. They say things like, "This isn't how it's supposed to be," or "I shouldn't have to deal with this." Fighting reality day after day, year after year, is exhausting. It drains your energy in a way that sleep cannot fix. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus built his entire life philosophy around one simple rule. Some things are up to us. Some things are not. The person who truly understands this rule meets the changes of aging very differently. Do they still feel pain when they lose someone? Yes. Do they still feel sadness when their body gets weaker? Of course. But they don't add unnecessary suffering on top of the pain. They don't fight what was never going to change anyway. Think about it. You cannot control the fact that you are getting older. You cannot control the economy, the weather, or what other people think of you. But you can control how you react to those things. You can control your attitude. You can control your daily habits. When you stop fighting the things you can't change, a massive amount of energy is suddenly freed up. You stop wasting your life being angry at reality, and you start using your energy to actually enjoy the life you have. Pillar 2. A small number of genuine relationships. Notice I didn't say a large number of friends. I said a small number of genuine relationships. When we are in our 30s, 40s and 50s, we spend a lot of time collecting acquaintances. We have work colleagues, neighbors, parents from our kids' schools, and people we network with. We have hundreds of friends on social media, but many of these relationships are tied to circumstances. You are friends with them because you work in the same office. You are friends with them because your kids play on the same soccer team. When those circumstances fade, when you retire, or your kids move out, those relationships quietly disappear. There was nothing deep beneath the surface holding them together. For someone who never built deeper connections, this leads to a very specific, painful kind of loneliness. They are surrounded by people. They might even be married, but they are genuinely known by almost no one. They have no one to call when they are truly struggling. The Roman philosopher Seneca described the alternative perfectly. He said, "A friend is one with whom you dare to be yourself." Not many people get to see the real, unfiltered, messy version of you. Sometimes you only have a small handful of people like that in your entire life. And that is perfectly fine. Those few people, if you tend to them honestly over the years, become a pillar of strength. A genuine relationship means making the phone call just to say hello, without needing a favor. It means offering honest advice, even when it's awkward. It means showing up when things are hard, not just when things are fun. Quality always beats quantity. One or two people who truly know you and accept you are worth more than 1,000 people who only know the polite, surface-level version of you. Pillar 3. A reason to get up in the morning for decades. Most people have their purpose handed to them by external forces. Your purpose is to get a job. Your purpose is to raise children. Your purpose is to pay the mortgage. These obligations structure your days. You don't have to think about why you are getting out of bed. The alarm clock and the boss tell you why. But then retirement hits. The kids grow up and move away. The mortgage is paid off. Suddenly, the external structures vanish. And many people discover a terrifying truth. Their purpose was never really their own. It was borrowed from their circumstances, and now those circumstances have moved on. They wake up at 7 a.m. and have absolutely nothing to do, and nobody who needs them. This is where the third pillar comes in. You must have a reason to get up in the morning. But here is the good news. Purpose does not require a job title. It does not require a salary. It just requires something that genuinely matters to you. It could be a skill you are still trying to master, like learning to paint or play an instrument. It could be a grandchild who benefits from your stories and your time. It could be volunteering at a local shelter. It could be tending a garden. It could be writing down your life lessons for the next generation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This pillar is about shifting from being useful to the economy to being useful to your own soul and your community. It requires the deliberate choice to have something worth getting up for. It requires you to wake up and say, "Today I am going to do this specific thing, because it brings meaning to my life." If you don't choose your purpose, the days will just blur together into one long empty weekend, and an empty weekend is only fun for about 3 weeks. After that, it becomes a prison. Pillar 4. A body cared for. Not resented. This last pillar looks physical, but its root is entirely mental. Almost everyone already knows the basics of health. You know that walking is good for you. You know that eating vegetables is better than eating junk food. You know that sleep is important. The difference between the people who are happy in their later years and the people who are miserable is rarely about a lack of information. It is about their emotional relationship with their aging body. Some people quietly resent their changing bodies. They look in the mirror and feel angry. They feel like aging is a betrayal. They think, I used to be able to run 5 miles without stopping. Now I get winded walking up the stairs. My body is failing me. That resentment, if you let it sit there, easily slides into neglect. You start thinking, what's the point of eating well? What's the point of exercising? I'm old anyway. And so you stop taking care of yourself. The Stoics saw the body very differently. They didn't see it as a separate thing that was betraying them. They saw it as the vehicle through which they experience the world. It is the vessel that carries your mind. If the vehicle breaks down, you can't go on the journey. Marcus Aurelius took care of his physical health with the same seriousness that he took care of his mind. He understood that one supported the other. You cannot have a peaceful mind if you are constantly exhausted, in pain from neglect, or foggy from a bad diet. Caring for your body in your later years isn't about vanity. It's not about trying to look 25 again. It's about preserving your capacity to actually live the days that the other 3 pillars have made worth living. It's about taking the walk instead of sitting on the couch. It's about choosing a meal that nourishes you instead of one that just numbs you. It's about protecting your sleep so you have the energy to enjoy your grandchildren. None of these things will reverse aging, but all of them will make the aging process feel lighter, easier, and more joyful. Listen closely, my friends, one final time. The years ahead of you will not ask whether you were lucky. They will not ask how much money you made. They will ask whether these 4 pillars were standing. They will ask if you lived with peace, connection, purpose, and self-respect. Begin building them today. If this gave you something worth thinking about, share it with someone who is building toward their later years, whether that stage of life is decades away or already here. Ski for new Stoic wisdom every single week.